Hi there. Thank you so much for having me again, Anne and everybody. It's just really nice to be here and share stories. Begin again is such a great theme because I'm sure we all have so many times we've had to start over in life. So I chose to talk about something about the professions I've had in my life. I started off being an engineer. I worked on the space shuttle program for 8.5 years, starting when I was 22, and I loved it because it was computer programming and I'm really logical. So I love things that are, if this happens, then that happens, or this won't happen, or that. I love all that. I'm not good at the other side of the brain. But my biggest dream in life was I wanted to be a mother one day. That's what I wanted more than anything. So at one point, that happened. But when my son was 2.5 and my daughter was 3 months old, my husband suddenly died. And that was a really difficult thing for me to get through. There were so many things I had to start over with. But I wasn't doing very well for a while. And one day my father called, and he had been an engineer too. But he had gone into a business venture with a man that was deceitful and was trying to steal from him. My father had put up all the money for a restaurant called Cafe La Strada. And my father said, "Would you come help me at this restaurant?" I said, "Dad, I don't know anything about restaurants. I worked at Woody's Goodies when I was 15, and my friend and I would steal candy bars and Chico sticks because we didn't think he paid us enough." My next job was at Alfie's Coffee Shop. I was hired as a hostess, and you know those little green mints, those Andy mints? Well, I ate a whole box of them and they fired me. So I said, I can't possibly help you. And he said, "Just come anyway. Your mother will watch the kids." So it was a win-win all around. And as I got dressed that night, you know how women, we always remember what we wore. I put on an olive green dress and I realized I hadn't had a dress on in about 2 years. And I dropped my kids off and went into the restaurant. And something really magical started to happen. Well, first of all, my father's partner was not happy to see me because he knew I was there to help my father out. But I was so excited by the energy of running a place. I didn't know what I was doing. But when I went back to get my kids and I went home that night, I was up all night. It was like all these pieces of myself that I'd pushed down and ignored for almost 2 years were coming up and saying, let us out, let us out. Being creative, being an independent thinker, and even being a woman. Because I was just a mother, even though I wanted to be a mother. And so I began to go back to the restaurant night after night after night. And eventually, the way the partner was stealing was discovered. He was having employees clock in on the Cafe La Strada clock and work at his other restaurant. So there's all these things that sort of happened. And in the end, they both sued each other, and my father ended up with it, and he said, "Do you want to try and run it?" And I said, "Well, I've been doing it for a year now," and I started doing that. And never in my wildest dreams did I ever want to run a restaurant. But now I was thrown into this. There was no internet back then, so I went to Borders Books and read books on management and marketing and figuring things out. And slowly but surely, I learned what to do. And when I didn't know what to do, I asked people. I went and asked other restaurant owners, or I had this man called the restaurant doctor come in and give me advice on different things. And one thing I really loved more than anything about my profession now was all the young people that worked for me. They would come in 17 or 18, they'd never made a salad, they'd never made a cup of coffee, and then you would watch them slowly grow up. And so, in a weird twist of events, I became the mother to another 200 kids over the 27 years. So my dream actually did come true. And my father hated to make mistakes, and he would always say, opening that restaurant was the dumbest thing I ever did, the biggest mistake of my life. And I looked at him more than once, even when he was dying, and I said, "Your biggest mistake was the best thing that ever happened to me." Thank you.